Hello friends, every person has a unique pattern of thinking, understanding, and behaving. If we learn to recognize this pattern, we can easily understand someone's intentions, emotions, and decisions, and even predict them in advance. This pattern is influenced by their past experiences, emotional needs, and psychological states. In other words, who a person is today is the result of their past experiences. When we carefully observe someone's behavior and try to understand why they are acting that way, we can also anticipate their future actions. For instance, suppose your friend gets angry quickly over trivial matters. You may have noticed that whenever someone points out their mistake, they become defensive or start arguing. If you try to understand their personality, it may be that such behavior is linked to their past life. Perhaps they were scolded a lot in childhood or made to feel that they were not right. Therefore, now whenever someone points out their mistake, their mind immediately reacts with anger to defend themselves. If you understand this pattern, you can predict how their reaction will be next time. Similarly, if you know someone who always steps forward to help others, even at the expense of their own troubles, it is essential to understand that this habit may be connected to an inner need. They may have endured something in their life where they only received love and acceptance when they prioritized others' happiness over their own. Hence, now they prefer to help even at the cost of forgetting themselves. By understanding this pattern, you can also know that they will behave similarly in the future. Another way to understand people's behavior is to look at the difference between what they say and what they do. Sometimes people say one thing, but their true meaning is something else. For example, a colleague might say that they are not affected by others' opinions, but when criticized, they remain upset for a long time. This indicates that their words and true feelings are different. They want to present themselves as if they are unaffected, but in reality, they are influenced by it. By understanding such patterns, you can predict that if there is criticism again, they might get upset once more. When analyzing behavior, it is also good to observe how a person reacts in different situations. Someone who is open and humorous with friends may be serious in a work environment because they know how to adapt themselves to circumstances. On the other hand, someone who behaves the same way everywhere is likely linked to their inner personality. Sometimes people adopt a fake persona to impress others, but careful observation reveals their true self. Consider someone who always appears very confident, but when asked a difficult question, they become uncomfortable and try to change the subject. This indicates that their confidence might just be a facade. By recognizing such behavioral patterns, you can understand who is genuinely what and who is merely pretending. Our behavioral patterns are connected to our psychological needs. Some people need to be right all the time, so they do not admit their mistakes. Some need attention repeatedly, so they engage in actions that draw people's focus. Some like to control, so they try to assert their influence over situations. When you understand someone's primary need, you can predict how their behavior will be. For example, a person who always speaks first in a group may need the most attention. If someone else starts speaking more than them, they might feel uncomfortable and try to redirect everyone's attention back to themselves. Understanding this pattern will make it easier for you to gauge how they will react next. Another way to understand behavioral patterns is to analyze decisions. A person who repeatedly misses new opportunities may be doing so out of fear of past failures. In contrast, someone who seizes opportunities without much thought may have learned in life that making quick decisions is essential. By understanding such patterns, you can better predict people's future intended actions. Understanding people's behavior not only helps you learn about them but also improves your relationships. If you understand the reasons behind your friends, partners, or colleagues' behavior, you can interact with them with more patience and tolerance. Also, remember that no person remains the same forever. People change over time, and their changes occur in a sequence. If you understand this sequence, you can also know in which direction a person is progressing in their life and what their next step might be. To better understand people, you should pay attention not only to their words but also to their behavior. It is essential to know their past memories, desires, fears, and needs. By doing so, you will not only learn to read them but also better predict their future decisions. The information we have is not limited to words alone. Often, body language and facial expressions convey true emotions. When we learn to understand this, we can know someone's genuine feelings, even if they are saying something else. For example, if your friend says he is fine but his voice is low, his eyes are downcast, and his shoulders are slumped, he might not actually be okay. That's why, instead of relying solely on words, we should also pay attention to their body language and gestures. Facial expressions are the most effective signals. In happiness, the eyes sparkle, there is a slight smile, and the face is open, while in sadness, the eyes look tired, the eyebrows are furrowed, and the lips appear tight. Fear, anger, surprise, or anxiety also have distinct expressions. If you learn to understand these signals, you can gauge someone's state of mind. For instance, if someone in the office says they have no problem with someone, but their demeanor changes when a particular person arrives, it means they are actually troubled by that person, even if their words say otherwise. Small gestures and body language also reveal a lot. When interested in a subject, the body leans forward, the eyes are focused, and the eyebrows are raised. When bored, the back leans against the chair, the eyes wander, and the body is in a relaxed posture. If someone is repeatedly shaking their legs, checking their phone frequently, or looking at their watch, it indicates restlessness or a lack of interest. Such signals tell us what the other person is truly feeling. People try to hide their emotions, but signals from the body inevitably come through. When lying, people often avoid eye contact, touch their face more, or their voice changes. By understanding these cues, we can differentiate between truth and lies. However, it is not right to make a judgment based on a single signal. Just because someone's eyes are downcast doesn't necessarily mean they are sad. They might just be tired. If their arms are crossed, it doesn't mean they are angry or upset. They might just be feeling cold. Context is important. If someone's behavior seems different from their usual self, pay attention to that as well. It's better to observe a cluster of signals rather than relying on one. For example, if their arms are crossed, they might be angry, but if their lips are tight and their body is leaning back, it could indicate that they are genuinely upset or defensive. However, if there is a smile but no joy in the eyes, it indicates that the smile might just be for show. If the eyes look tired and there are gestures like repeatedly touching the neck, it indicates discomfort. It is essential to understand that the art of reading people is useful not only in personal relationships but also in professional life. For example, when a boss says in a meeting that they liked a project but shows frustration on their face, you can understand that they are just being formal. This allows for timely improvements. Such signals also help us keep an eye on someone's honesty. If someone is denying a mistake but their voice is hesitant, their eyes are darting around, or their hands are fidgeting, these could be signs of lying. Reading body language is an art that comes with practice. By paying attention to gestures in everyday conversations, you will gradually start to understand what different signals indicate. Every person is different, so it's important to first know their common habits. If someone who is usually energetic suddenly becomes quiet, it could be unusual. Or if someone who is always calm suddenly shows a lot of gestures, it means something different is happening. Understanding such small things will enhance your understanding and help you communicate better with others. There is always a reason behind every person's actions. Some work hard because they want success, some save because they worry about the future. Some help because it brings them joy, and some lie because they want to avoid trouble. If we understand what gives someone joy and what scares them, we can know how they will behave in the future. In fact, every person has two major motivations: seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. People do what either makes them feel good or helps them avoid discomfort. When you observe behavior closely, you will start to notice what draws them in and what they avoid. Understanding this is crucial because when you grasp someone's motivation, you can predict what decisions they will make in the future. Suppose there are two people in your office. One always works hard and learns from every mistake. The other wants to do the bare minimum, avoids risks, and shies away from new responsibilities. This difference exists because the first person is motivated by success, while the second is trying to avoid failure. If you understand this, you will easily comprehend both their behaviors when a new project comes up. For instance, if you advise a friend to go to the gym, the one motivated by joy will hope to improve fitness and feel good. The one trying to avoid pain will aim to stay healthy and prevent illness. Both may go to the gym, but their reasons will differ. Similarly, someone who gets angry quickly may have underlying struggles from childhood or concerns about self-esteem. If you understand the reason behind their anger, you can figure out how to calm them down. People's fears also influence their behavior. Some are cautious about their social image because they fear rejection. They try to wear the right clothes and say the right things. Some are careful about money because they fear poverty. If you understand what someone is afraid of, you will also be able to better understand their decisions. For example, someone may be very cautious in relationships because they were hurt in a previous one. They do not trust anyone easily. Understanding reveals what needs to be done to reassure them. Similarly, some people pay a lot of attention to appearances. To gain lasting happiness or respect, they buy expensive things or post good pictures on social media. This behavior also involves a mix of both happiness and pain. When you talk to a customer, it is important to know what influences them. If they want to attain happiness, explain how your product will improve their life. If they want to avoid loss, inform them about the potential drawbacks of not purchasing the product. Children study because they will either be happy with good grades or want to avoid punishment for failing. If parents understand what motivates their child, they can inspire them to study more effectively. Our decisions are also driven by the desire to gain happiness or avoid pain. Jobs, marriages, relationships, all are influenced by this. If you understand what drives someone's life, you can anticipate their next steps. At this level, understanding people will greatly enhance your communication and relationship building abilities. Every person's needs are different, but they also follow a certain order. Some are primarily concerned with earning money, while others are interested in love and relationships, and some prioritize career and self-esteem. Psychologist Abraham Maslow created the hierarchy of needs to explain this, which categorizes human needs into 5 levels. At the bottom are basic needs, and as these are fulfilled, the individual moves to the next level. If you know where a person stands on this ladder, you can understand what will influence them the most and how they will make decisions in the future. The first level is physiological needs, which include food, water, sleep, and rest. If these are not being met, the person's entire focus remains on these needs. For example, an unemployed person concerned about these needs will not pay attention to relationships or self-esteem. Such a person is primarily worried about survival. The second level is safety needs, which include job stability, health, home, and future security. Once an individual's physiological needs are met, they seek stability. Those who feel this way will be comfortable taking risks, while those in fear will need to remain cautious. The third level is social needs, where they seek connection with relationships and society. They want to combat loneliness. At this level, people mostly surround themselves with family, friends, and community. The fourth level is esteem needs, where an individual seeks respect and recognition. They need their achievements to be acknowledged. The final level is self-actualization, where a person works for a greater purpose, showing interest in art, social service, and self-development. When you understand Maslow's model, it becomes easier to motivate people and understand their decisions. In conclusion, every person has an ego that helps maintain self-esteem. When self-esteem is threatened, the mind tries to protect it. These protective methods are called defense mechanisms. Sometimes we do not realize their impact, but if we identify how someone is protecting their ego, we can understand their true feelings and fears. For example, someone who does not admit their mistakes and keeps blaming others is likely avoiding acknowledging their weakness. This is called projection. Another defense mechanism is denial, where a person does not want to see the truth. For instance, someone who is in debt but does not accept it. Rationalization is a method where people make excuses for their mistakes to avoid feeling bad. Repression involves a person pushing painful experiences into the unconscious to avoid facing them. However, these repressed memories can influence their behavior. Regression occurs when a person behaves childishly under stress. For example, getting angry repeatedly under pressure at work. Displacement involves a person directing their feelings not at the real cause but at someone else. Sublimation is a positive method where a person channels negative emotions into creative work, such as sports or art. Friends, this was our detailed information for today. I hope it helped you understand better. Please share your thoughts, and thank you for reading it all.